What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is, we need to talk about Cosby, episode 3. So, we start this episode off, and now the way they started the episode off, I feel like they was doing a little too much. I feel like they was putting a little salt on everything, a little sugar on everything. You know what I'm saying? A little gas on the fire. But they showed a clip from the Cosby Show where he's talking about his secret barbecue sauce and how basically the barbecue sauce is an aphrodisiac. I thought I didn't take it that deep that again he was throwing innuendos to him slipping something in someone's drink. But of course it's it's a joke that doesn't quite translate well, right? But this episode really digs deep into the Cosby years, right? We talk about the groundbreaking show that was the Cosby Show. Now, again, like I said at the beginning of this, I am a Cosby kid. I grew up on Fat Albert on my Saturday morning cartoons. I grew up watching the Cosby Show and then A Different World. And so I remember well, like, the Cosby Show was must-see TV. That was the days of VCRs, and you would record the episodes before it was in syndication, and you could record the episode and then watch it over and over and over again. It was where if you were late Thursday night, and you missed it, you were mad. You couldn't rewind it. There was no DVRs, right? So this was was it? Maybe it was 8:30, but y'all don't remember because that was a long time ago. I'm old, but I do remember because it was either Did Family Ties come on after them or before them? Y'all put it in the comments because y'all remember. I think maybe Family Ties came on after them, so maybe it was 8 o'clock, and then Family Ties was at 8:30, and then Cheers, if I remember. Anyway. Neither here nor there, child. Neither here nor there. So, we have to talk about the groundbreaking show that was the Cosby Show, right? So, that's the first time that we have seen a black family that wasn't in the hood, that wasn't a buffoon. No disrespect to the Jeffersons. But yeah, George Jefferson made it. He was moving on up. But George Jefferson was a buffoon, right? We had good times. I don't even need to go down that road. But outside of that, and then we ended up having the show that with Flip Wilson that came on CBS, which was sort of like the Cosby spinoff. It was Gladys Knight played the wife, and then Flip Wilson played the husband. Christophe St. John played the son, and it was sort of like a spinoff of the Cosby Show. So, but prior to, we did not get this Cosby family. And the one thing they said was because they had these 4 kids, no matter the age, you were in somebody's age range. For me, it was Vanessa. I was in Vanessa's age range, and Vanessa irritated my soul. I was like, I don't act like her. I don't act like that, and I don't act like her. We talked about the iconic moments that the Cosby Show gave us. From the very first episode where we see him and Theo having that, that little father-son talk, and then he tells Theo that's the dumbest thing he ever heard, which of course we're all waiting for them to embrace and have this moment. And he was like, yeah, that's stupid. We're not doing that. Like, you're going to do your best because I know you can do better and all of that. If you don't know, go back and watch the Cosby Show, child. Of course we had the iconic, Ray Charles, the nighttime is the right time moment. We had, Rudy and her football, sweet feet, I think they called her. So, all of us remember that. And, yes, it got criticism because it wasn't realistic enough, because that's just not the average black family that had a doctor and a lawyer, and they were second generation college students. Their parents had gone to college, and they were so successful, and they lived this good life in New York. But the reality is, so what? Dynasty is not realistic. Not for the average white family, and that's what we saw on our TV in the 80s. We saw Dynasty and Falcon Crest and the Cobys, and that's what we saw on our TV. So what? But it definitely gave you something to aim for and strive for, and it was good, wholesome comedy, right? That's all the good. Now let's get into the bad. Let me go to my notes. They said that at the taping of these shows, there was always a group of female models that would be sitting down front, dressed in their Sunday's best, And as soon as filming was over, they would be escorted into Bill Cosby's dressing room. Now, they said that Bill Cosby's dressing room always stayed open. He had an open door policy. He kept his door open except when the models were there. Door was closed. They said that Camille hardly ever came on set. Nobody met her. Nobody knew who she was. She was sort of like the ghost. Never met the family. So for the 8 years that the Cosby Show ran, there were people who worked on the Cosby Show that never met his wife, never met any of his other family. They were very separate. So then we start getting into some of the women. Okay. Scotty was his assistant, and Scotty sort of was the one that would, take care of the ins and the outs with the women. So there was this woman, her name was Eden. And Eden was a model, and she went to a taping of the show with her manager, and they was introduced to Bill Cosby, and then she was called a few days later to come and do a guest role on the show. They showed us the clip. She played a cop. That was later on in the season. That was when Theo was already in college, so these were like the later years of the Cosby Show. And she said that when she showed up to set, she had her own dressing room. She was like, I knew that wasn't normal. Like, it's not normal for me to have a dressing room. Yet, Martin, the guy who played Martin and the guy who played Alvin, they didn't have a permanent dressing room at all. And he said one day he showed up on set and they literally had them in a closet, like a storage room. So again, just letting you know, Eden said that, while she was on set, she was escorted off set while she was in the middle of basically rehearsing to go sit in Bill Cosby's room to have lunch with him. She said she ate her lunch and he never showed up. So the next day, when they came again, Scotty, his assistant, came again to escort her. She told Scotty she wasn't going. She said, I am in the middle of working. I'm here to do a job and I'm in the middle of working, and no, I'm not going to leave to go sit in his dressing room. They basically told her, listen, girl, go on in there and get it over with. This is what happens. This is what it is, and you got to go. So she does go, and she says that he did not drug her. She said that he basically molested her. He ended up making her do these weird, like, acting exercises where he ended up basically running his hands over her breast. And she said he made a comment about, see, what were you afraid of? What were you afraid of? This is all we're doing. We're making love, but we're just making love this way. And so, that was her experience. And she, of course, talked about how, sick it was, whatever. Then we meet Miss Leslie Lottie Lubin. She also was a model. She had met him, they said when he wasn't filming on the weekends, he was still doing stand-up. He was still going to Tahoe and Vegas, and he was still doing his stand-up. So she met him at the Hilton at, I want to say it was in Reno. She said he offered her a drink. They were supposed to be running through some acting exercises. She blacked out. She don't remember nothing. She said she doesn't remember. And she, again, just like the other women said, she thought she had done something wrong. Maybe she had drank too much. She made a fool of herself. But then he called her to follow up and let her know all is good. It's all good. You didn't do nothing. Wasn't a big deal. Then we meet Lily Bernard. She was an actress, and it's funny because she's one of the iconic scenes. If you remember the episode where Heathcliff, Dr. Huxtable, has the patient that's had like all these kids, and she basically got all her stuff in order, and her appointment was at 11, but she showed up at 8:30. Her. Now, she says basically, she comes right out and says, he sexually assaulted me, and she was very angry. She said, I'm not going to sit here and relive my trauma. I'm not going to go word for word through what happened. Just suffice to say that he invited me to his house and he assaulted me. She did still show up and do her show and do her role. And she said, but he treated her really badly. Like, he kept telling her she was doing her word, she was saying her words wrong and she wasn't enunciating the way he wanted her to. And so when they got done rehearsing, he said, he told her, I need to see you later. I need to see you later. And she was like, I'm not coming to your house again so you can have sex with me. I'm not coming to your house. And he was like, oh, really? Is this how you want to play it? He was like, well, you're fired. We're done. And she said, no, he said, well, then you're done. So she assumed she was fired. So she said, but the next day he sent a card for her and, you know, she did the role. And she said, you know, a lot of people question, well, why would you still show up and do the role if, you know, this is what happened to you? And she said, because I had to work. Because I was an actress. Now listen, I'm not judging nobody, and I'm damn sure not gonna victim shame if she, you know, this is all allegedly, y'all, because I won't there. So, but I'm just telling y'all what they had said. And then again, we start getting some of these other stories, just like in the 1960s and in the 1970s. Now we have a string of women who are making these accusations. In 1986, there was Stacey Pinkerton. She was 21. She said that he drugged her, gave her a drink. In 1987, we have Helen Gumpel. I hope I said that right. She was 27, and she said she wouldn't take the drink. She refused the drink. She wouldn't take the drink. And she said that she feels like that's what saved her from being assaulted. But he tried. She said he was very insistent, and he really tried to push the drink on her. Then we have Barbara Bowen. She knew him. He was her acting coach and mentor between the ages of 17 and 19. She said that he gave her a drink, he drugged her, but that she woke up in the middle of the situation. And of course, he wasn't expecting her to wake up. And she fought him off. And he told her he never wanted to see her again. And that basically their relationship was over. The mentor relationship was over. So then we talk about the ending of the Cosby Show and how, you know, he was, while all this was going on, he was still winning awards and accolades and doing all these, you know, great things. They talked about his philanthropic work where he started donating to HBCUs and how much good he did for HBCUs with visibility and donations. We know about Spelman and Morehouse and how he would wear the HBCU t-shirts on the show. I mean, my HBCU, Bennett College, I mean, I'm going to be honest and say we begged him. You know, when I say we, I mean as a community, not me personally. But after what he did for Spelman, you know, we begged him to do for us what he did for Spelman. And what he agreed to do was he agreed to do a concert, and we could, whatever, we would get all the proceeds from the concert. So he wouldn't write us a check like he did for Spelman or for Morehouse. But he said, you guys put together a concert, and whatever y'all make off the concert, y'all get to keep. And that even sort of came up in the documentary, how he would use that to hold over people's heads. He would use that, I can make you money, I'll donate to you if you do what I want you to do. Now dance, dance, dance. And it really made me think of that, because I remember when he did it, I remember thinking, why he can't just write us a check like he does everybody else? Why do we have to put together a concert and go through all of this? And if we make a profit and bank on making a profit, and don't get me wrong, he don't have to give us anything. It's his money. He don't have to do nothing. But I'm just telling you what I was thinking at the time. In my mind, I was thinking, why he don't just cut a check? He cut a check to Spelman. He cut a check to Morehouse. Why he don't just cut a check? But that's how I was thinking at the time. Anyway, so then they talk about the infamous pound cake speech that he gave to the NAACP. And for those who don't know or don't remember, that is where I started parting ways with Bill Cosby. Because Bill Cosby became the angry old man, the get off my lawn guy. He started giving these speeches where he was victimizing poor black people and making black people the victims. And, you know, he made statements like, you know, we mad about the cops shooting the guy for stealing the pound cake, but we're not asking why did he have the pound cake, you know. He talked about people just need to pull up their pants and you know, start talking proper. And as an educator, I was already teaching when he made some disparaging comments about teachers. And I remember telling a friend of mine, you know, how angry I was at him making these comments and how disparaging he was at educators and what black educators weren't doing. And a friend of mine, she's an attorney, and she said, well, people make jokes about lawyers all the time. It just is what it is. It just, it's no big deal. But I remember trying to explain to her, no, it's different. Like, yes, we make jokes about lawyers, and yes, we talk, yeah. But in the black community, educators were always respected. We may not have always made a lot of money, but we were always respected. And it just hit me funny, And he started dividing black America, they talked about, which is very real and legit. That's where, people started, it was either on one side or the other. And when the Republicans, the people they showed Mitt Romney quoting Bill Cosby, you have to sort of ask your question. When Mitt Romney is quoting what Bill Cosby is saying about black America, you kind of need to question where it's coming from, in my opinion. And so he was sort of already starting to lose a little steam as America's dad. Remember the comments he made about living single and about how disparaging of a show it was because these were, they were promiscuous and they were single and, anyway, I don't want to go too far down that road. Then we have the story of Andrea Carson in 2004. Now, while he's giving these speeches and around the same time is when we have the story of Andrea Carson. Now, Andrea Carson is the woman who worked at the school who actually filed charges. Now, those charges were never pursued. He never had to show up in court. But 10 years later, in 2014, that's where the comedian, I believe his name was Hannibal, and this is where it ended, when he started making his jokes about Bill Cosby that went viral, which really wasn't a joke. He wasn't really joking when he said it, but it went viral, and that is where this whole case started picking up steam again. So episode 4, it goes all into the legal case, what happened, what didn't happen, him going to jail and all of that. So that's what we'll talk about on that. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in the comments. Peace.